In the heart of North Korea, nestled in the shadow of towering gray buildings and watchful soldiers, there was a hostel that housed students from all over the country. The rules were strict, the nights colder than most could bear, and the fear, an unspoken constant, lingered like an invisible fog. Among the students, there was a boy named Jun-ho. Jun-ho had been sent to the hostel at the age of 12. His parents were loyal party members, and it was expected of him to follow in their footsteps. Life was harsh in the hostel. The dormitory walls were cracked, and the dim lights flickered constantly, casting unsettling shadows. Every student knew better than to talk about the whispers they heard at night. Some claimed it was just the wind, others something far more sinister. One night, as Jun-ho lay in his bunk, he heard it for the first time, a soft, almost inaudible whisper calling his name. Jun-ho! Jun-ho! His heart pounded as he pulled the thin blanket over his head, pretending not to hear. But the voice persisted, growing closer with each breath. The next morning, his roommate Min-seok was missing. The authorities claimed he had been transferred to another facility. No one questioned it, but Jun-ho couldn't shake the feeling that something was horribly wrong. His dreams were plagued by images of Min-seok, his face pale and lifeless, eyes wide with terror. In the dream, Min-seok stood at the foot of his bed, pointing toward the window. Jun-ho began to notice strange things around him. Footsteps echoed in the empty halls at night. The wind, once a low hum, now sounded like a distant wail. His belongings were often moved, as if someone or something had been rifling through them. Yet, no one else in the hostel seemed to notice. A week after Min-seok's disappearance, Jun-ho decided to investigate. He waited until the dead of night, when the hostel was silent and the guards had retreated to their posts outside. He slipped out of bed and followed the narrow corridor that led to the basement, a place students were forbidden to go. As he descended the stairs, the temperature dropped sharply, and the air felt heavy, thick with a presence he couldn't explain. The dim light of his flashlight flickered, and for a brief moment, it went out completely. In the darkness, Jun-ho heard it again, his name. Jun-ho! This time, it was unmistakably Min-seok's voice. Panic clawed at his chest, but he forced himself to continue. At the bottom of the stairs, he found a rusted door, slightly ajar. Inside, the air was damp and reeked of decay. The room was lined with old metal beds, each one covered in a layer of dust, except for one in the far corner. There, lying on the bed, was Min-seok. His body was unnaturally still, his eyes open, staring blankly at the ceiling. Jun-ho felt a scream rise in his throat, but before he could make a sound, Min-seok's head slowly turned toward him, eyes filled with a silent plea. "Help me!" Frozen in terror, Jun-ho stumbled backward, his legs giving way beneath him. As he hit the ground, the door behind him slammed shut with a deafening bang. He scrambled to his feet, but the door wouldn't budge. From behind him, he heard movement, soft, shuffling footsteps. Slowly, he turned to see Min-seok standing, his limbs stiff, his face pale as ash. "You shouldn't have come here," Min-seok rasped, his voice no longer his own. It was distorted, as though something else was speaking through him. "None of us were supposed to leave." Jun-ho's heart raced as he pressed his back against the door, desperately trying to open it. "What are you talking about?" he stammered. Min-seok's lifeless eyes fixed on him, and a cold smile spread across his face. "This place, it isn't just a hostel. It's a prison for the lost souls." Jun-ho's mind raced, trying to make sense of the words. He had heard rumors of people disappearing in the night, but he had always dismissed them as just that, rumors. Now, staring into the face of his dead friend, he realized the truth was far worse. As Min-seok moved closer, Jun-ho felt a cold hand wrap around his throat, squeezing the breath from his lungs. In his final moments, his vision blurred, and he saw them, shadows, dozens of them, standing in the corners of the room. Their faces were twisted in agony, their hollow eyes fixed on him. Just as his world began to fade, the door flew open, and Jun-ho collapsed into the arms of the hostel director. He was dragged back upstairs, his vision darkening as the cold grip released him. The last thing he heard before losing consciousness was the faint whisper of Min-seok's voice. "You'll never escape." When Jun-ho awoke the next morning, everything seemed normal. The other students laughed in the halls, the sun shone through the cracks in the window, and no one mentioned Min-seok again. In fact, it was as if Min-seok had never existed. But Jun-ho knew better. Every night from then on, as he lay in bed, he felt them, the shadows, watching him, waiting for their next chance. Because once you've seen the truth, there's no escaping the silent shadows of Pyongyang. If you enjoyed this chilling story and want more spine-tingling tales, make sure to subscribe to my channel. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload of thrilling, suspenseful, and terrifying content. Your support helps bring more stories to life. So don't forget to like, comment, and share with fellow horror lovers. Stay tuned. The darkness has more stories to tell.